Marcus was just your everyday Nazi committing hate crimes against the Jews, but he wanted to be more than just a regular Hitler Youth. Then one day, his wish finally came true.
Until he made a little wish.
I wish I were big.
Thanks to a wacky red crystal, he became bigger. Now he can commit all the crimes against humanity his heart could ever desire. Better watch out, Comrade Stalin, because Marcus is going to show you what happens when you give the powers of a mad god to a kid. Check out all the fun this summer in Big Bigot. Tamara was just your everyday 13-year-old girl who liked hanging out with friends, playing with dolls, and surviving the horrors of World War II with her refugee family. But when a Nazi tankman massacres her entire family, she's gonna have to learn how to grow up real fast. Good thing this girl has a really big fairy godmother who's ready to show her how to become a real woman. With the help of a magic alien crystal, Tamara is gonna have to grow up real fast.
Birthday.
Check this out. Wishing dust.
She only made one wish.
I hate being 13.
I just want to be grown up.
And she woke up 17 years later.
Whoa! Talk about a totally tubular transformation. But don't get too excited, guys. Remember, she's still only 13 years old. Now, while she's batting off all the GIs, she'll have to get ready to battle the Nazis as Tamara is 13 going on 30 activations. You gotta love to be gone back yet. Love isn't that I don't you grab it. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that great little parody piece I had in the opening to kick this off. This issue was amazing, so I was so inspired, I have another little special treat for you. For the second time, the war had reached the outskirts of Moscow. The huge earthworks were the setting for a battle that would save or doom the city. In this higher position, Sieglinde and the supporting lower classes of enhanced humans were able to neutralize anything in a strict line of sight. Cresting the earthworks was as good as a sentence of instant death, unless one had one's own defenses. That moment was the first time Sieglinde became aware of Maria Andreevna had survived the previous encounter. Sieglinde could not be sure until a sighting was made. With her support staff no longer operational, the task fell upon herself. Maria Andreevna was sighted at 11:14. From this point, both sides engaged their prepared tactics. Battleship Zero had disabled Maria Andreevna in their first encounter. Their hope was that Zero would do so again. Of course, this is uncertain. There was a factor of novelty and surprise in the initial engagement. It was difficult to predict how Maria would react now. However, it was also irrelevant. HMH Churchill intercepted Battleship Zero. Battleship Zero was faster than HMH Churchill, and we can perhaps theorize as to how it might have maneuvered to greater advantage. But it had no tactical intelligence and little general intelligence. All it understood was brute force. In terms of brute force, HMH Churchill grotesquely outclassed Battleship Zero, in much the same way Andreevna outclassed Battleship Sieglinde. So we begin this issue with good old Vernon Rivers going in to talk with his old Battleship boy buddy, Razor. And this is a nice, depressing conversation. Razor is not looking too much better since we last saw him. He's covered in bandages. And, since this isn't a shonen series, we know bandages aren't going to do much. And apparently he's in perpetual pain. He's on enough morphine to drug a frickin' elephant and kill it. And he even laughs very maniacally, some nice dark humor about, they're going to see if they can poison a battleship just because they keep on putting him on more morphine, and he just becomes more and more immune to it. So I absolutely love the small little bits of text to, get an idea of his, hushed, injured voice. And it was also nice to see the two interacting in terms of, I like the sort of, it's not a big thing in Uber, but the sort of friendship that has, come with all the American battleships. And the fact that they're, going through a similar experience, comrades in arms. And, he's just like, kindness. Don't apologize for kindness. We learned that whatchamacallit Sigmund is getting adapted into the American unit. The 2 heavy cruisers are training with him for whatever their big operation is. And, Vernon gives the best approximation of whatchamacallit Sigmund, where he says that Sigmund, he was just following orders, but his orders were to burn cities, so, fuck that guy. That almost feels like, Kieran Gillen giving his opinion on Sigmund the character, because Sigmund and Sigland are the 2 most sympathetic out of all the battleships, of the German battleships. Obviously, Siegfried is a monster. He got what he deserved, and we all enjoyed seeing him get to it, but, we can sort of understand Sigmund's perspective in the sense that he has a heroic moment by killing Hitler. He's this gay guy who's become the ultimate Nazi, and he's also a very pragmatic survivalist. Sigmund has no allegiances. He just goes to where he thinks he will live the longest. So I think we're being built up to the point where he's probably going to die a horrible death. He's not going to get out of this unscathed. And it seems like it's the perfect setup to, demonstrate the power of Project Gutenrang. That, Sigmund goes to Germany. He goes to lead the assault. Maybe he, fights Sigland for the final time. And it looks like, the war's over. But then Project Gutenrang comes. And we get to see what they can do. And whatever they do, it'll be horrible and miserable and extend the war a little bit longer. Because that's the funny thing about this issue. This issue could have been the end of Uber itself. It could have all been over here, but, we'll discuss in a few minutes about how it got extended. But, the series is definitely coming to a close. We're on issue 15, and I read somewhere, Kieran said that, he's going to get it out to 21 issues to finish up the whole thing, and that there are 2 more major arcs. This arc is Mother Russia, and then we'll have the final arc, which I will hereby refer to as the Gutenrang, or, Project Gutenrang arc, until we hear otherwise. And although it looks like Razor is not going to be able to do anything, he does, have that grim little bit of foreshadowing where he says, the one thing I learned about this war is you're not out of it until you're dead. So, who knows, his physical body's torn up, but maybe they'll, roll him out on a stretcher so he can use his frickin' halo effect. Because it's still a pretty goddamn powerful halo effect. So, Sigland can, be trotted out in a chair. Why can't he be trotted out on a bed and, just blast things? Go pew, pew, pew with his little laser eyes. So, I don't think we're going to see the end of Razor. And, we've been told that Ubers have faster healing. So, there's a chance he may be up and walking and, not fully active, but active enough. So, next we have the big set-piece Battle of Moscow. Now, this is, great. This is what we live for. This was a great moment where Sigland is, leading the charge into Russia. She's got this ridiculously high statue where she's just, bombing the Russians. But then, goddamn Maria Andreevna is back with her halo effect. And then there's this great panel where just, Sigland is, cowering in fear because, she sees that she's back, that she wasn't taken out by Battleship Zero. And she just knows that, if this doesn't work again, she is fucked. And she also knows that they wouldn't deploy her if they didn't have another countermeasure. But, it's the only thing she could do. Send her little pet boy, Battleship Zero, and she flings it across the battlefield. And you're wondering what's going to happen. Well, you know what's going to happen. The 2 strongest battleship broads are united. Max halo, max physical strength. And then you get the most incredible panel of Leah, HMH Churchill, coming out from the smoke and the debris, full Hulk mode, intercepting Battleship Zero, and I was just like, yeah, and we quickly learn that she just completely overpowers it, and just, beats the hell out of it, and I just love the slow walk where, Maria's, pimp walking after she destroys Sigland's tower, moving towards her, bit by bit, as Leah punches the thing out again and again in the background. I did the best of my ability with my limited skills to try and give you a version of that we'll never get to see, animated or brought to life in live action. But, oh, that was so good. So good. But then Maria makes her biggest mistake. Maria could have ended the war single-handedly. If she killed Sigland, then it would have been over for Germany. They would have no more assets except for the lower classes. So on one hand, there was like part of me that was like frustrated by that, but on the other hand, I understand Kirian's, reason why. One, it's in perfect character for Maria to do that. It puts her in direct opposition towards Moscow, who were, I was kind of, this is one of the few times where I was like kind of like on Stalin's side. I was like, God damn bitch. And then she just like lets the Germans run back with their tail between their legs, alive, without, finishing them off. And you're kind of like, God damn it, why did you not finish the job? But then again, we've got one more story arc for this. We got to see Project Gutenrang. Obviously Kirian does not want to, he's not done with Sigmund. He's not finished with her yet. And the seeds that Maria planted in terms of telling her that, do not fear tyrants, especially the one in their head, is sort of the ultimate message that, ultimately no one really controls the battleships. They can all do what they want. And on one hand, that's kind of great when, they refuse orders, like Freddy and Vernon refusing to liquidate the Japanese internment camp. On the other hand, it's, terrifying in the sense that you have this mad god who you're dependent upon for your safety and security. And she's like, I don't feel like it. Shrug. So it was perfectly in character, but also kind of infuriating. Oh, you could have ended it! You could have ended it! Get it back for Churchill. But, Maria did what Maria does. And then, we get the celebration in Moscow. She's a hero of the people. And, of course, Stalin is furious. As we kind of are. Because it's like, come on, Maria. Stop being such a enabler for Nazism. You've had 2 points where Maria could have ended the war, but didn't. So, it just goes to show that, with Uber warfare, you got to strike before the enemy brings, whatever horror monstrosity comes next. So you're kind of like on Stalin's side a little bit, where it's like, he's like, send her east. So unfortunately, then after that, we get the battle of Irkutsk. I probably mangled the pronunciation of that, but if anyone who's Russian wants to link how to pronounce that city, I'm perfectly willing to hear that. So basically, he even toys us in the text about like, ooh, what would have an engagement like that been between all the half-finished Russian battleships, cruisers, and destroyers versus the Japanese forces. But we never know, because Maria gets there to lead the charge, and she wipes out the Japanese, no questions asked, just completely eliminates them. And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Maria. But then we get the betrayal, which, isn't so much surprising. It makes sense that, this is something that Stalin had planned for a long time. And, Oleana has also been planning this for a long time and has many reasons to want to murder Maria. And she intentionally, selects 2 troops who are loyal to her. She keeps the rest of the Maria fanatics away. And they finally take care of Mother Russia. And, given the fact that, not only does she yet let Yamato get away, but also Sigmund, you're kind of like, yeah, you know what, you had it coming. You could have ended the war right then and there, taken out the only weapon that was keeping Japan and Germany in the fight, but you didn't. You decided to go crazy Maria fun time, and you prolonged the war for everyone else. So, on one hand, it's like, no, Maria! On the other hand, it's like, yeah, sorry, you were kind of asking for it. Which brings us to the question of, is Maria really dead? On one hand, we've been kind of learning that, 2 battleships, 2 Ubers of similar force attacking each other with their halo. They can fence, they can negate it, but, tank men are more like tanks in one way or another, than that, you hit them from the back, they're completely vulnerable. I mean, Sigmund didn't really use a really high-intensity halo on Razor, but he got him in the back, he was completely defenseless, screwed up his back, turned it to mush, popped off an arm relatively easily, which shouldn't have been that easy since, from all intents and purposes, judging by their halos, it looked like Razor had at least, 11-11 to Sigmund's 12-12. So, he should have been a little bit more resistant, since we've seen that, the higher your physical resistance is, the more you can shrug off halo effects. But, as we've learned, or Kirian has confirmed, Maria's ratio is 2 to 22, or maybe even 1 to 23. So, she's just completely screwed. So we have the product description of Uber Invasion issue 16, which says, Maria is just not to be messed with, and soon they will all learn the hard way. So, one of 2 things is going to happen. Number one, Russia, the populace revolts. There's an infighting between the Gulag camp for the pro-Maria and the anti-Maria, and that just creates a whole thing where the peasants rise up against their oppressors, and then they just destroy Moscow. And that's what causes the Soviets to withdraw from the war. Because right now, the Soviets have won, and obviously we got the foreshadowing that USSR is going to be forced to withdraw from the war, which seems impossible, but obviously bad shit's going to go down to cause that. So that's one possibility. I think the more likely possibility is that Maria has some form of Geltmensch abilities. It's been hinted at way too much in the fact that she can speak other languages. She has some, like, lesser psionic abilities. She was able to learn Hideki's name, even though he never told it to her. So that's the big implication. I think, like, Alan Turing's gonna, like, learn something new about Uber activation and learn that, like, you know, regular tankmen and Geltmensch aren't as far, you know, removed as you think. And, you know, whatever version of activation Maria had allowed her to tap into Geltmensch abilities, which she did instinctively. And she'll basically have used that to, like, project a version of herself where she's, like, dead and burnt and eyes bleeding. And that ultimately is the way how she, you know, wants it to be, you know, be seen. And then she'll be, like, furious, and then she'll go, and then she'll kill Stalin and destroy Moscow, and completely destroy the USSR and force them out of the war via that way. That is the way I see it most likely going, considering how much it's been implied that she has Geltmensch abilities. That's what makes the most sense to me, but you never know. I thought we were going to get a battle between Japan and, you know, Maria's Gulag force, but we didn't quite get that. We got something else. So, you know, lots of great developments in this chapter. Of course, not enough pages, not an editorial from Kieran Gillen. I really wanted to hear what he had to say, especially with all the turn of events here. But unfortunately, no, which is very sad and unfortunate. Maybe next chapter he'll stop, you know, giving all that love and 5,000, you know, word editorials to the Wicked and Divine, and us, you know, Battleship boys and girls will get some love, and we'll get to hear some commentary. I was very sad to see that we didn't get any. But it was a really good chapter. 9 out of 10. Great issue of Uber. Great, you know, yeah moments. It was great to see the strongest woman united together to destroy Battleship Zero. Although it does raise an interesting question. Like, how many strength activations do you need to become immune to Halo? Because I thought that, like, you know, Battleship Zero was a completely strength activated against HMH Churchill, but we found out that, you know, its strength was nothing compared to Churchill. So, you know, is it above 12? Is it like around 16, 15, 14? Because we know if you get a certain amount of strength activations, you become virtually immune to the Halo effect. And that to me is very interesting in terms of, you know, how Uber dynamics play out. But yeah, this was a great freaking chapter. I loved it. It sucks that we have to wait nearly 2 months to get the next one. But this was a satisfying one, so I'll be a little less insane than I usually am waiting for Uber to come out. But great chapter. Loved it. And I have a special announcement I'd like to make. So I have this idea. I've always wanted to have an Uber board game. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till the series is over because I want to see all the Uber types revealed. I want to see what Project Gutenrang is before I, like, make any final decisions. But what I'm going to try and make is a DIY Uber board game that's like a modded version of Stratego, where basically it'll use the same sort of core rule set with a few variations, and I'm gonna, like, get a designer and come up with some rules, so it'll be a DIY Uber board game that you can, like, just print out the rules and the pieces, cut them out, put them on Stratego pieces, and then enjoy your own Uber board game fun time adventure all on your own. But this is a little whiles off. I have some ideas of what I want to do and how I want to, like, adjust the rules, but I want to see everything out there before I do anything final. But this is happening. I'm going to make the Uber board game, the DIY Uber board game, for all you guys to enjoy out there. So look for that sometime towards the end of the series once everything's over. But another great chapter. Loving the series, as always. Sucks that we have to wait till the beginning of October for the next chapter. But, you know, this was good stuff. So thanks for hanging around. Hope you enjoyed my little Uber parodies and tributes in this video. My little love letters to the series. And also, I have a Fiverr page now, so go click the link below or click it on the side of my YouTube page if you want to have a comment in the next video or something that I, question that I answer live on air or pre-recorded on air, or a funny, silly thing you want me to say. So feel free to check that out. And thanks for hanging around. And remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.